Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. I see nobody's here yet, so I'll give it a couple of minutes. Hopefully, some folks show up and we can have some nice conversations. It's been a very good week. I hope everybody that is watching this either live or later also had an amazing week. I see we've got a couple folks showed up. Uh, Spectacular week all around for me, which we'll get into. I appreciate those of you that are here live. Drop in and say hello. Those of you that happen to be watching this later, hello from the past, I guess, which will be the future them. So, all good. Um, so, as I think mentioned on the last one, I plan to do these regularly on Saturday mornings, or at least as long as people show up for them. Um, I'll be able to talk about what I'm reading, what I'm going to be reading, movies that the wife and I have watched. We did end up watching the Barbenheimer craze last week, so we'll get into that. We'll get into my magnificent Chicago Cubs, who have won 7 in a row, and had an awesome week. I see Laura is back. Thanks so much. It's good. It's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you're here again. It's very nice to see you. And yeah, we have some stuff to talk about this week. So we will get into it. We'll give it maybe a minute or two to see if anybody else shows up. But should be another nice conversation. As always, I will keep up with the comments to the best of my ability. I'll make sure to answer any questions, concerns, quandaries, etc. And we'll be off to the races. So I hope you're all enjoying what you're reading. I have been a little bit slumpy with my reading this month, but we'll talk about it. Uh, yeah, good questions. In how far into Lightbringer am I? I'm only about I'm on the 18th chapter, I want to say, so I'm about a quarter of the way in. I think you're ahead of me a little bit, even though it looks like, yeah, I would love to be dragging at chapter 29. That would mean I'm a lot further in than I am. So I meant to get more done yesterday. I probably read about 100 to 150 pages yesterday of it. I'm quite enjoying it. But for whatever reason, just in general, as I mentioned, reading has been a little bit slumpy for me. So um, I always am enjoying what I'm reading. I'm just not doing as much of it as I would like. Um, I mean, that's not that big of a deal. When Battleground came out, Jim Butcher, I read that in a day. I believe I read Wisdom of Crowds in a day when it came out. I took those days off of work. Um, so I've done that. It's what, it's 650 to 700 pages, so it would be a lot. But if you put in, if you put in half a day reading, you can get a lot done. So I could definitely do it if I was so motivated to do so. But I'm just enjoying a little bit of a slower read. Interesting. So you liked Red Rising the best of the first three. That is a bit unusual. It's pretty by far my least favorite of the entire series, but I'm glad you liked it. Um, for me, each book has gotten better than the previous one. So I much prefer the sequel trilogy that we're on to the first trilogy. Although I do quite enjoy Morningstar. I think that's fantastic. I love all the Obsidian stuff in it. But yeah, for me, Iron Gold and Dark Age are my favorite part of it so far, and my feeling is that Lightbringer will continue in that vein. Let's see. Normally read at least 100 pages a day, but I've been, yeah, it's same. I try to get in my 100 pages a day, but these last 2 months it's been pretty rough. I'm completing books. I'm getting through them, but for whatever reason, I'm not doing it quickly. Hey, Rogue, what's up, man? Thanks for coming again. Always here for the streams. I appreciate it. Slow reader, halfway through. Okay. I'm also reading Exile. Okay. Yeah, those are two very different novels. I haven't read any R.A. Salvatore. yet, but at some point I might. Speaks the Nightbird I obviously love, but it requires to be in a certain kind of mindset, I think, to appreciate that series. Yeah, the sci-fi that I love, I really, really love, like Sun Eater, for instance, Dune, I guess a few other things, but for the most part, I'm more of a fantasy guy. I do enjoy big sci-fi now and then, but I just don't read enough of it. I do have a plan to get to Alistair Reynolds this year, so we'll see if that actually happens or not. But if I do, I will be getting into um, his what is it called? What's the trilogy? I don't know. I'll think of it later. That's fine. Cool. So I know probably most of you in here aren't huge sports fans like I am, but my beloved Chicago Cubs had an amazing week, and I can't stop thinking or talking about it. We inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame the Ford Frick winner. It's the Best Announcer Award for the voice of the Chicago Cubs over these last almost 30 years. Pat Hughes, that's my boy. He's been the radio voice of the Cubs since I was quite a bit younger, and has been the soundtrack of my life for a long time. He's one of the best to ever do it, so I'm so excited for him. So he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and the Cubs haven't lost a game since. So it's been 7 in a row. They've won in all kinds of different ways, and 5 of them have come against the hated St. Louis Cardinals, which never fails to make me smile. So if you're not into sports and or baseball specifically, I'm sorry, but I can't not mention it. So if you are into those things, good stuff. Um, but all is well. What else we got? As I mentioned, and as an asked, I am reading Lightbringer right now. That is book 6 of the Red Rising saga by Pierce Brown. As it has been the case, in my opinion, Brown continues to level up his writing. I think that he is just getting better and better. I like that the series is going in a more philosophical direction. That certainly is important to me. I like that we're dealing with the fallout and the consequences of the previous books. That's all great. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Excellent. Fool's Errand is an outstanding book. Obviously, I hope you had the tissue box handy. Um, in my opinion, the next 2 are as good. Not everyone feels the same way. I happen to love that entire series. Tawny Man is one of my favorite series of all time, and Fool's Fate is actually my favorite of the 3. But the margins are so close together. I just love all 3 books. Yeah. So yeah, that's more of a dairy thing about recommending Willful Princess first. I think it's a good idea to read between Live Ship and Tawny Man, but it's not how I did it. So what I did was I read Willful Princess after I had read the entire series, and I like doing it that way. But certainly there is a lot to be said for doing it in the order that Derry recommends and that you did here. Um, does Red Rising have great? Yeah, there are a lot of very cool space battles. There is some interesting future tech that is highlighted. Um, Calling it nonstop action, I think, is not entirely accurate. I'm not saying he's wrong. He knows more about the series than I do, but I think there's quiet moments. I like some of the quiet character moments in these types of things. If it was wall to wall action, I don't think I would be into it that much. Frankly, that's just not my thing. But I like it because we get to spend time with some characters and develop relationships with each other and that kind of stuff. So. It's not going to be a series for everyone. If you do try it, I would recommend you read at least through Golden Sun. I can tell you that the first time I read Red Rising, I wasn't really into it. And I went maybe a couple of years before I read Golden Sun, and it's been, full steam ahead since then. So, and I did a reread this year, and I appreciated Red Rising, the initial book, a lot more, knowing what comes after it. So. Revelation Space, thank you. That's what I was looking for, the Alistair Reynolds series. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. So that is on the agenda this year. I do hope to get to it. But I think the first priority right now is to A, get through Lightbringer, and then B, really dedicate some work to R. Scott Baker's Prince of Nothing series. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It will flesh out a lot about the piebald factions and that kind of stuff. So cool. What's everybody else reading right now besides Zen? Not because I want to single him out for a bad way, but I know what he's reading. But what is everybody else? I know Linda or Laura just said she finished Fool's Errand, which is an amazing book. What is everybody else up to lately? The second from the Hugh Cullen mystery series by Shirley. I've heard of Shirley MacLaine. 16th century Scotland murder mystery series. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I don't read a ton of. Oh, that was a question reading the second. You're asking if it's familiar to me. It's not. I've heard of Shirley MacLaine. I know nothing about the author, but that's a name that I feel like I've seen or heard before. I don't. Mystery is not a genre that I dip into a ton. Not because I don't like it, just because I have other stuff that I read. When I do feel a hankering coming on for some mysteries, I usually go back and reread some Arthur Conan Doyle, Watson and Holmes stuff, just because that was a part of my younger adulthood that I like to reflect back on. I guess throughout high school, I read a lot of that stuff, so I like to revisit it from time to time. Cool. So I mentioned last week that the wife and I were going to head to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer, which we did. I guess I wonder if anybody else saw either or both of them and what your thoughts were and your feelings. Here's what I'd say. Oppenheimer, I really enjoyed. I had a very good time at that movie. I know some people struggled with the fact that it was a biopic focused specifically on Oppenheimer, but I guess that's what I was expecting, so it didn't bother me. I thought that the practical effects of the bomb were extremely cool. I thought that that whole setup, everybody was on the edge of our seats in the theater, which was very, very cool. It was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. It was so intense and stressful, which I really, really enjoyed. So I had a great time with Oppenheimer. It was 3 hours, but it didn't feel that long to me personally. On the other hand, and if you love the movie, that's fantastic, but I did not at all have a good time with Barbie. I didn't particularly like the heavy-handed messaging within it, which to me, my nieces play with Barbie dolls. I would have liked a movie that was more for everyone and more for, I don't know, just a PG rated movie that was fun versus a PG-13 movie that was heavy handed and, in my opinion, all about men are bad. And so I didn't have a good time. That was a 2-hour movie that felt like about 5 hours to me. It was not an enjoyable experience. So if you liked it, great. I'm not going to tell anybody what to like, what not to like. But if someone were going to ask me, do you recommend it? I can't in good conscience say yes to that. Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. Okay. How are you liking it? I have heard good things. Obviously, I've seen the movie. So I don't know that it would be my type of book, if that makes sense. But, I've heard good things. Sound of Freedom. I've heard excellent things about it. Yeah, I would like to go see it. I have not done so yet. I don't know when or if I will get to it. but it does look like pretty good stuff. And I know they had to go through a ton of hoops just to get it made. So that is really cool. I think today the wife and I are going to check out the Haunted Mansion, which I'm not super excited about, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It does have Danny DeVito, so I do love me some Danny DeVito. All right, so we have some props for American Psycho. That's good. I Christian Bale really got into that part. That's all I know. Interesting take on that movie. So yeah, if I ever get around to it, I will check the book out. But it feels a little not my thing. But we'll see. Yeah. All right. So what do we got? Interested in seeing it when I thought it was a Disney-like movie for kids. I may watch it someday. I'm not the audience. Okay. I it it's definitely not what it was marketed as, in my opinion. It was seemingly marketed as this fun movie that everyone could enjoy, whether they're into Barbie or not. What it really is a heavy-handed smash the patriarchy, men are bad messaging that I don't like that kind of divisiveness. That's not my thing. Theo, what's up, man? It's early here too. It's a little after 7 my time, probably about the same your time. I think you're Pacific time, right? Maybe not. I will be watching you tomorrow, brother. I know you are on with Jack for her 3rd installment. So I hope everybody that is not already will subscribe to both Theo at Rekindle Reader and Jack at Jack of the Bookstack. Check them out tomorrow. I'm assuming it will be co-streamed like mine was with her. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's some would you rather questions. There is some bookish related interview style questions. It'll be a lot of fun. So I think that is tomorrow. I don't remember what time. So Theo, let us know what time that will be. Excellent character study. We're talking about American Psycho, but the excessive descriptions of products are a bit much, but makes sense why they're. Are we talking about? What are we talking about? Is it talking about Barbie, or are we talking about American Psycho? Yeah, same time. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. 7 on Saturdays may not be the ideal time for everybody. Sorry about that. It just is a time that works for me. I'm up anyway. So I've been kind of doing these streams at this time because I imagine people don't have anything better to do. So hang out with me for a little bit. Cool. 10 to 1 Eastern tomorrow, or 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Check out Theo's channel and or Jack's channel. It should be a very fun conversation. I will plan to be there if I can. I'm working, but I should be able to jump on and watch the stream as I'm doing so. Okay. Doing what I can, Theo. Doing what I can, my friend. Cool. I did. What else have I done? I did complete the final in the Robert McCammon Matthew Corbett series, or at least the final one that we have, King of Shadows. I liked it. I think it's lower tier on my enjoyment level for that overall series. Not because it's bad per se. I still gave it, 4 Stanley Dodds, more of a definitely leaves you on a cliffhanger. A lot more to come, a lot of questions unanswered, and we don't know when we're getting the next book for sure. But he's leaning a bit more into the supernatural side of things, which has been hinted at throughout the series, and I like that a lot, but we have a lot of unanswered questions. So Theo finally read Speaks the Nightbird. Fantastic. I've been trying to get him to read it for over a year, so I'm happy he caved. That is awesome to hear, my friend. I hope you loved it. Cool. Yeah. Laura's on the East Coast, so everything's late over there. So that is good. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Theo's going to be DNFing Lions of Our Song. Um, I have only read the Sarantine Mosaic so far. So I read Sailing to Sarantium and Lord of Emperors, and I quite enjoyed both, although not to the level I had anticipated. I expected 5-star reads. I got 4-star reads that kind of dragged in places to my taste. Um, I I at some point plan to try and go through the GGK catalog, but I don't know when that's going to be, and that's going to disappoint Jake and perhaps others. But for right now, it's not the highest on my priority list. This makes me very, very happy. So the first 3 McCammon books you read were also the first 3 books I read from McCammon. I also gave each of them 5 stars. So I hope you continue with Corbett because it is a very fun series. I really love that character and seeing how he grows through time. You'll also be introduced to some of my other favorites in that series, which we can talk about once you get there. Yeah. I am very, very happy that you are loving A Feast for Crows. Obviously, one of my favorite books. So that makes me very happy. Yeah, well, Jake and Kyle will live. If they were good friends, they'd be on the stream right now. So they're just gonna have to take their lumps and live with it. Okay. I've heard good things about Lions, but I have not read anything outside of the Sarantine Mosaic, which in some ways maybe was not the best place to start. Um, I knowing how much it is beloved by my boy Christopher Rocchio, I thought I would really, really love it. Knowing how much Jake loves it, knowing how much my friend Madison loves it, I was going in with maybe too high of expectations, and it just didn't reach those. At some point, I will read Lions. I'll read Tagana and other stuff, but I just don't know when I'll get to any of that. Yeah, I've been there where sometimes it's just not the right time or place or what have you. The first time I tried reading Stormlight Archive, I got about 200 pages in the Way of Kings and it just wasn't working. And now it's one of my favorite series when I finally got back to it and blitzed through the entire thing back in 2000. So, sometimes you're just not in the right headspace for a specific book. I what books does Kyle skip? I've seen him recommend to people to skip books. That's a little bit of a meme, but I don't know that he in particular skips books. Maybe I'm wrong, but we know that my tagline is publication order always. But yeah, I'll give him a hard time when I talk to him. I'm sure we'll talk soon. I'm hoping he and I can jump on a call at some point and talk through East of Eden because he and I read it at the same time and both quite enjoyed it. Yeah. All right. Um, yeah. Theo, tell me about your experience with Oppenheimer. I know you saw it on IMAX. I wanted to see it on IMAX, and we ended up watching it on a normal theater, which was kind of rough. But I thought it was exceptionally done. I am excited to have a new Christopher Nolan entry. He's one of my favorite directors. I hope you enjoyed it too, and it looks like you did. Fantastic. That's great to see. And Theo has to jump off. Thanks for dropping by, my friend. I will be there to say hello tomorrow when you and Jack are having your conversations. Kyle skipped from Fires of Heaven to the Gathering Storm. Oh, that's right. I forgot he skipped some Wheel of Time books. That is correct on the Dresden books. So the thing is, Jordan was going to DNF the series, and he told her rather than do that, skip these books and start at Deadbeat. And to be perfectly honest with you, if someone is either going to choose to, put Dresden in the dust completely or start at a certain point in time, I'd rather have the latter. I'd rather have them try and go through and enjoy as many of the books as they can. So I am perfectly okay with that. When it comes to Wheel of Time, he skipped some of the books that I hate. So, what are you what are you gonna do? I know you don't mind them, but books 7 through 10, even now, I think back to having read those and I did not have a good time. Yeah, Oppenheimer. Enjoying it, but I was in a slump, and it's about Vikings. Oh, okay. Last Light. Who writes that? I'm not familiar with that one. Peace, Theo. Yeah. So it depends. In general, what I like to do is to listen and read at the same time. I like to immersively read. So if I have the option, that's always my first preference. If I'm just listening, depending on what I'm doing, I can do it during chores, or if it's a re-listen, I can kind of do it during anything because I know the bones of the story, and sometimes more than the bones of the story, and I just want to revisit some scenes and some characters and stuff. So it sort of depends. I do like to listen while driving when I can. But when my wife is in the car, she doesn't want audiobooks. She wants music, which is fine. Um, so yeah, it just depends. But in general, if I have my choice, I'm listening and reading at the same time immersively. Yeah, Knife of Dreams is exceptional, as we know, and a return to form from Jordan. Um, I don't know what he was doing with books 7 through 10, but I did not have a good time. But Knife of Dreams is a banger from start to finish. So he certainly should have read that. That could be, yeah, that could be true. Who knows? You know, different people enjoy books in different ways. I'm not, I'm not here to be the books police, even though I do come off judgy with publication order always sometimes. Yeah, Guy Gabriel K. Um, I mean, so far my experience with K is I love his writing, but I don't always love what he's writing about. If that makes sense, I need to experience more certainly. RJ is here, and I love that you're calling yourself RJ tries to read. I feel the same way, my friend. I hope you're doing well, dude. It's been a while since we've talked. I know I have things to catch up with on your videos. I saw you released a couple, and I haven't watched them yet. Don't uh, don't be offended. I'm not watching much of anything lately, YouTube wise. I'm not up to date on a lot of people's stuff, so I need to catch up, as I need to catch up with so many other things in my life. But no, it is awesome to see you, dude. I hope you are doing very, very well, and I hope you are trying to read some awesome stuff right now. Cool. Trying to think what else we have going on. I am probably going to be doing a June and July wrap up together. So look for that in the coming days. The last video I filmed, I think, was my June TBR, maybe. So it's been a while since I've actually filmed and edited and released a video. I've done obviously some live streams, but yeah, I'm way behind. It's possible I'll do an August TBR. I don't know yet, but I'll definitely do a June and July wrap up that talks about what I read in those 2 months. Good. You're reading Lightbringer as well, and I agree. You're probably further along than I am. I am about a quarter of the way in. I'm on chapter 18. So yeah, I'm loving it so far, especially that first part with our team up buddy cop episode. I quite enjoyed a lot. So I won't go into any names because of spoilers, but yeah, I'm having a great time as I had envisioned that I would. I am loving the second, sequel series. It's right up my alley. So, um, yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I saw that Alex, tall guy, got a chance to meet Pierce. I'm pretty jealous, and he got his book signed, and he's in the middle of it as well. So, if you happen to see Alex, tell him to drop in here and say hello and tell us all and put us all, uh, you know, upset that he gets to meet Pierce and none of us do. Yeah, I could do that. It's going to be a longer wrap up than usual because it's 2 months worth. But yeah, I could probably mix it in. I used to do them together, and then I kind of separated them out to give some breathing space, and because frankly I'm not that creative, I don't know what to do videos about. So, but I might do that. August will be an interesting one because I think it's just going to be kind of catching up on the stuff that I had planned to read already and haven't yet. So we'll see. Yeah, well, RJ is also super tall, so and Theo is tall, so those of us mere mortals that are not 7 feet tall, we have to, you know, we just have to go through life not quite the same, and ask them when it started raining because they'll know before we do. Okay, so you're just a little bit behind where I'm at, so that's good. Yeah, it's great. I'm having a wonderful time. And expecting it to go on some crazy directions because it's Pierce Brown and that's what he does. Cool. Sorry about taking the sip there. I am not fully awake and I need my rock star. Tier list of characters where the tiers are how bad their decisions are. Yeah. Yeah, spoiler alert, Fitz is not a great decision maker. That is not incorrect. Um, he has a good way of justifying his decisions to himself and therefore us, but ultimately he does and says a lot of stupid things. That's our Fitz, and that's why I love him. So, but yeah, I could maybe do something like that. I don't know how to do a live tier list. These things I watch people do them. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with something like that. But maybe at some point I will. You were rereading Red Rising. Okay. How far did you get in the reread? I had a wonderful time on the reread and enjoyed most of the books better on the second try. Um, and which is a big thing because I liked all the books the first time around. Um, Dedicated tier for Darrow is not a bad idea. That is certainly true as well. Um, he is among the first people I would want guarding my back and beside me in a fight. Not necessarily someone I would want to take in for a diplomatic meeting. I'll just say it that way. So yeah, that's it's not a bad idea, RJ. Yeah. What else we got rolling here? I'm trying to think what else is big right now. Hmm. I know since I don't know if I'm going to be doing a TBR, I can talk about some of the things I'll be reading once I finish up Lightbringer. I am going to be reading books 2 and 3 of the Prince of Nothing series by R. Scott Baker. It'll be my first time reading both. I did a reread of the first book last month, and was it last month? Last month into early this month, and I quite enjoyed it. I'm expecting Warrior Prophet and the Thousandfold Thought to be even better. I hear that they are, so I'll be doing those. I also need to get to books 2 and 3 of Robin Hobb's Soldier Son trilogy, which I think I've read at least part of Forest Meg before, but I don't remember how far I got the first time before kind of putting that series down and not coming back to it until now. A few of us are sort of in a buddy read, kind of reading it together, but I enjoyed the first one for what it was. I'm expecting to like Force Meg a lot more because I hear good things about that book. Um, my goodness, you only got 10% into Golden Sun. Yikes. Golden Sun's fantastic. That was a book the first time around. I sort of struggled with the first little bit into it, but that last third or so, last half, last third, banger. Good stuff. Yeah. Joanna tells me that Warrior Prophet is fantastic. Brent is big on it. It's good to see you loved it. I will certainly do that. The Plains of Mengeta. Interesting. Um, yeah, I liked a lot of what was happening in that first book, and obviously he is a philosopher by trade, so that goes into his books. I don't know that I necessarily share his worldview, but it is interesting to see it play out on screen slash on the page. So I'm excited to get further in the series, and then I'll be doing Aspect Emperor at some point still this year. Maybe. I don't know. I To me, Dark Age is in my mind the darkest book I've ever read. With one particular scene in mind that still gives me nightmares. But you never know. Um, I think in general, I like to try things and see if they're for me or not. But if you've determined that it's not your thing, that's fine too. Rogue also puts in the thumbs up and uh, throws up the Longhorns for Warrior Prophets. So that's good. Not too much. I reread the first book in June, and I had a reasonable time with it. In general, Navarre is just not my favorite character that she's ever done. He is someone who tends to have things happen to him instead of being the one with the agency that is doing stuff, which I don't love. The setting is fine, but nothing fantastical or great thus far. Um, it did dip into some levels of low magic at times, but really not enough to get me super invested. I gave it, 3 Stanley. It was fine, but certainly among the lower tiers of things in the Hob world for me. I'm hoping books 2 and 3 I like a lot more. I'll say it that way. And I know some people adore this series, and that's great. I haven't been super motivated to pick it back up yet, and I will because I made a commitment that I want to do that this year. But it other stuff seems more pressing right now. Yeah, Dark Age is yeah, yeah, nightmare fuel. That is true. Okay, I've heard. Brent has sort of made that clear to me that Aspect Emperor is very, very dark. So we'll see. More in a okay, how grotesque it is. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Blood Meridian is dark. I think for me, the biggest thing was because I didn't identify with or necessarily care about any of the characters, the darkness didn't impact me much, if that makes sense. Um, I owe it to myself to try that book again, but I did not have a good time the first time I read it. Maybe that's the point. But I'm running out of years, and I want to read stuff that I like. That's it's kind of what that goes by. Yeah, hatred for Lysander is certainly a worthwhile endeavor. Um, so Cormac McCarthy, regardless of the book, doesn't use punctuation. I mean, he uses periods to end long-winded sentences and stuff. Um, Stylistically, that none of that bothers me. I don't care about that. He doesn't usually use quotation tags or any of that kind of stuff. That isn't my problem with that book because I read The Road and I loved it. My problem was I just didn't get invested in Blood Meridian, and I didn't love the gratuitous use uh, of um, racial slurs throughout. I'll just say that. Certainly I understand it's the time period, that kind of stuff, but it was almost as if McCarthy was taking great joy in how disgustingly can I use these racial slurs and how often, and that's not my thing. So, um, and I've talked to actually Gwen's sons about this, and they're both huge Cormac McCarthy fans, and they said yeah, but that's it's a product of the time and this kind of stuff, and obviously intended to kind of show how far we've come as a culture and this kind of stuff. And I get it. I just don't like it. So that's that. Um, yeah, I do want to try No Country for Old Men. I haven't seen the movie either. I'm not the biggest Western guy in the world, but I like some stuff. I will try it at some point. Um, Probably will be my next McCarthy. I know Alex Tall Guy Reads is also a huge McCarthy fan. Um, Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, huge McCarthy fan. Joanna is really enjoying McCarthy. There are plenty of people whose opinions I respect and admire as reviewers and as booktubers that love Cormac McCarthy, and I should try more. That's that's what it boils down to. But I'm not in a hurry, I guess, to do so. Um, what looks interesting to me is that duology he released last year. I'd like to try that out, but I don't know when I'll get to it. I think definitely a big loss to the literature world when he died earlier this year. So many people who I read and love their stuff are cut their teeth on reading Cormac McCarthy as well. So we may not have a Joe Abercrombie if not for Cormac McCarthy. You never know. So he's a huge fan as well. I love The Road, even though I wish he had actual character names for the man and his boy or whatever. But yeah, I had a fantastic time. I thought that was an amazing book. Cool. So yeah, so R. Scott Baker, some Hobb with the Soldier Son trilogy. Um, I'm trying to think what else I would like to get to right away. That already is going to be four relatively thick books. Um, I need to sit down and think through if I can find some lighter fare or something to kind of break it up a little bit. Maybe a thriller or two here and there to you know make things a little bit lighter and easier on me. I could certainly use that in my life right now, so that's all right. Anybody in here have any huge August plans reading wise? Anything that you're looking forward to that you really have been meaning to get to, and now's the time? Maybe not. Maybe not. Andrew Michael Hurley, The Lonely, Devil's Day, and Starve Acre. Acre. My first dive into horror. It's kind of folk horror. Very good. Light on the horror. Okay. Is this stuff that has recently been published, or is this? And it doesn't matter either way. I'm just curious. Horror is interesting for me. I am a big Stephen King fan. I'm obviously a big McCammon fan, but outside of those two, I haven't really read any horror that I can think of. So it's just not something I particularly reach for, I guess. My wife loves horror movies, and I just am not into it at all. She gets mad at me because we'll go to the theater because she wants to watch a horror movie, and I'll have my AirPods in and reading a book because I just am not into it. After the last time, she told me we're not going any more horror movies together if you're going to act like that, and I said, "Act like what?" She thought I was being weird because I had my AirPods in, so she's probably right. Okay, I will have to. I'll have to check it out. Um, I'm always going to put Sun Eater way on top of Red Rising. I know other people will say that's wrong, but for me, I adore Sun Eater. It's one of my favorite just things. I am sort of kind of in the middle of a reread of Empire of Silence. Not really, but I've been, chipping away a chapter at a time. Because there's a few folks that asked me to participate in a read along I got Dan from Black and Blue Collar, I think is the name of his channel. Christopher Navo and Nate. I forget Nate's channel. And I think they're in the middle of Howling Dark right now, so they're ahead of me. But I was just doing some rereading to refresh myself on some things. But hopefully here, sometime in the next month or so, there will be some live streams on those, and I'll hop on and kind of share my thoughts, because it's a series I will always talk about, and I love very, very much. I can't wait till April 2nd when we get the next installment, Disquiet Gods. I will have read it before that, I'm certain, because there will be advanced reader copy availability. So I'm hoping to have read it by the end of this year, but we'll see. American Tabloid by James Elroy and the Winter King. Winter King I liked. I enjoyed the other two books quite a bit more. Enemy of God and Excalibur I thought were both really, really good. Winter King I thought was good. Overall, as a trilogy, I quite enjoyed it. I haven't read any James Elroy. I'll be interested to see what you think. Supposed to be a great writer, so I'm sure you will really enjoy it, sir. Ketchum, again, I've heard of. I haven't read anything from. Off Season was good. I have read Cover and Stranglehold next on my list. Okay, cool. I hope you like them. I yeah, I don't. My reason for loving Sun Eater so much more than Red Rising has more to do with the beauty of the writing, the fact that it is much more philosophical in nature and about our place in the universe. Um, it just has everything that I want and everything that I need in a series. Excellent. I love Golden Fool. Excuse me. I like Best Served Cold a lot too. So I hope you enjoy that. I am a big Abercrombie fan. Golden Fool is much maligned by folks saying that nothing happens, which I vehemently disagree with. Um, but it, I think it irritates some people in that series if they are super plot heavy, plot driven readers, which I can understand, but I don't happen to belong to that classification. I care much more about characters and their interactions with each other, and for that reason, I adore Tawny Man. Gotcha. You'd read more horror. Underwhelmed by Lovecraft, but I do love King. I haven't really done a dedicated try of Lovecraft. I've read some passages here and there. He is an author I would like to jump into at some point, but it's not heavy on my list of priorities. I would rather go back and reread some Edgar Allan Poe first, which I have done some of that. Usually around October, I'll read a few stories. I do want to reread The Fall of the House of Usher because there is a book, Usher's Crossing by McCammon, that's inspired by that. And I think follows up as sort of a sequel to it. So I will be rereading that at some point before I read Usher's Crossing. I think that's the name of it. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. Well, cool. It looks like people have some really good stuff to get to here. Laura, I hope you love Golden Fool. I will be saddened, but if you don't, that's okay. But I think that's an amazing book, and at some point, I'm hopeful that we can get together on Mike's channel and talk about it, because I know everybody but Mike really loved Golden Fool. So we'll see how that goes, and really loved Fool's Fate. Mike adored Fool's Errand and then didn't like anything from there. So it is what it is. Well, you're reading the right author then. Yeah. So Hobb is definitely someone who will put characters in a place just to see what happens, and that leads to what some readers would consider tedium or directionless stories, um, which, not every author is for everybody, but I've said it ad infinitum, is my favorite author of all time, will always be. And I tend to be more forgiving of such things when I love the characters involved and I adore the characters in Realm of the Elderlings. So yeah, same Zen. He isn't here. He's going on vacation, so he probably will never see this. So that's okay. Um, yeah. What else we got? I'm trying to think what else. Uh, I have newsworthy. I don't think there really is anything. I am very, very hopeful that the Cubs winning streak continues. They've won 7 in a row. And if they can continue winning, then they can buy some players at the deadline here, the trade deadline, through trades, and continue winning even more. So I like winning. Paramita, good to see you. I'm glad you made it. I hope you are doing well. I'm sure you've read about 70 books in the time that I read my last 3. So I hope you're enjoying everything that you're reading. I've been falling behind on keeping up with what you are reading. So let us know if there's been anything exceptional that we should check out. All right. I'm sure Paramita's probably typing away. She's got so many things she's read, she can't decide between what to tell us. That's all right. That's all right. I hope things are well. That is funny. Finished War and Peace. That is a tentpole book if I've ever seen one. That is one you can hang your hat on. Congratulations. I have never tried. Clarissa is 33% longer. Okay. All right. Clarissa, is it the same author? Dostoevsky, right? Or am I wrong? Um, me and classic Russian history, not a match made in heaven. I haven't read any of this stuff. I haven't read Crime and Punishment, nothing. So Zen tried AK1 Santa Karenina. It didn't go well. I'm sorry to hear that. I haven't Brothers Chasm, none of that stuff. I am not well read. Let's just say it that way. I am constantly reminded of the things that I should have read by now that I have not. So, I mean, Sun Eater, way, way, way better than Corbett, and I love Matthew Corbett's series, but it's a little bit apples and oranges comparison to me, because in my mind, Sun Eater is going to go down as one of the single greatest sci-fi fantasy epics of all time. And Corbett is a really fun, really interesting, really enjoyable historical fiction series. Like I don't know that I would compare them in that way. I adore both, but Sun Eater is perfect and Corbett is really, really good. With at times a book or two not being quite up to the standard, in my opinion. Bit of a fantasy and sci-fi lull from Paramita. That is hard to believe. Uh, but I guess when you're reading War and Peace, you don't have as much time for SFF, which is fine. Um, I I don't have any recommendations off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody else does. Yeah, I don't know if Corbett would be your thing, Paramita. You have to really, really enjoy historical fiction, and you have to kind of be interested in um, sort of a Sherlock Holmes style of tale, if that makes sense. There is definitely a lot of inspiration coming from Arthur Conan Doyle in that series. Fair, fair enough. Zen is hurt by Paramita again, by her DNFs. Although it should be noted that Paramita at one point DNF'd Sun Eater, and then she came to her senses, and now she loves it. So, willing to give things another try, perhaps. Cool. All right, friends. Well, we're probably going to be signing off here fairly soon, but I will obviously stay for as long as we have questions. But I feel like this is a pretty good rhythm we got going. I plan to do this Saturdays at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So anytime you guys can jump on, I super appreciate it. I know Zen has been here for all of these. Paramita has been here for all of these. The Rogue is always here. So I appreciate those of you that are here often. And of course, the others like RJ and Theo that bop in, I super appreciate it. Anytime anyone comes to talk to me about books or anything else, I'm all about it. Yeah, Sun Eater, I would just wait to do, obviously, the 6th book reread. Reread or retry suggestions. I'm trying to remember what you didn't enjoy the first time that I think you should try again. I have a hard enough time remembering what I've read and liked and didn't like without knowing what everybody else has. Interesting. I'll have to sit on that one. One thing that you really love that I need to continue with at some point is Austenard, the Tad Williams stuff. I read the first 2 books in Memory, Star, and Thorn and quite enjoyed them, especially the first book. But I haven't gotten around to reading To Grey Angel Tower yet. I think I made it maybe 10% of the way in and set it down, and I haven't picked it back up. Not because it was bad, just because I was reading other things. And it's frankly just a massively long book. I happen to agree with you. I love Kingdoms of Death the best as well. I know that is not the super most popular opinion, but it hit me super hard, and I like books that hit hard. I love, obviously, all of the books and love them even more on the reread that I completed. But yeah, Kingdoms of Death is my personal favorite, and I always look forward to going back and revisiting it. So. Wasteland Saga, 3 books by Nick Cole, post-apocalyptic. Cool. Is that YA or adult? It doesn't matter. I'm just curious. I have not heard of it, but I do like post-apocalyptic. Son of Fortitude. I think that was the self-pub book that you read, right? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, he is still writing in that universe, isn't he? Unless Winds comes out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we won't talk about Winds coming out. Bummer. Need to restart it. I was reading way too many other series. Yeah, that's definitely happened to me. The Son of Fortitude is my favorite Sun Eater character. Okay. Fair enough. I thought you were giving a book title. Fair enough. Well, Hadrian is obviously my favorite Sun Eater character, and Polino is not far behind. I love me some Polino. So, among many, many other characters, I'm also obviously a huge Valka stan. She's awesome. But yeah, Polino's my dude. I mean, if there is a series that has massive rereadability, it's Song of Ice and Fire. I am obviously doing my reread this year and having a wonderful time. Maybe that's what the other book that I do in August. I still need to do Dance again. I've only read that a couple of times, so I'm looking forward to that reread. All right, friends. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me. It is always a pleasure to be able to talk some books with folks. And thanks so much for participating in the conversation and for being here. But I think for now, we're going to sign off for the day. Oh, you're reading King Killer. Also something I'd like to do soon. We'll see how that goes. But As always, publication word always, my friends, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your weekend. Signing off for now, and we'll talk to y'all soon.